And I got one more question for you, Chris. And again, for those that are tuning in, Chris, you're doing work everywhere with Jomboy. You've done work on NFL Network. You do Baseball Today with Trevor. Your dugout discussions, which the recent one you had I saw with Vlad, with hitting a home run, I believe, at Camden Yards when he was 11 or 12 years old, which that dude's just a beast. I can say I spent a lot of time at that ballpark, Brad. I did not do that when I was a kid. And I did that a few times in like batting practice when I was like a grown man.
Yeah.
But Baltimore's having a little rough go, Chris, right now. And they just lost another game where they're not driving in runs, had the lead early and things fell apart. I saw your piece with talking about Sheldon and the Pirates, and your take on it was it's an organizational failure there. I think Brandon Hyde's going to have more of a leash here in Baltimore, just given the fact of what you knew the deficiencies were coming into the season. But is there a scenario here that you think the Orioles do change pace mid-season if they continue to fall down a hole that people thought wasn't going to be the case here in 25?
Yeah, it's possible. It is, because when you have massive expectations, and there were still, this isn't 2 years ago where they won 100 games, or last year where they still were a damn good baseball team, but people did not expect what we've had the first 6 weeks. This has been horrific. And listen, 2 years ago, I was screaming for them to sign Carlos Rodon. I thought he would have been perfect. They went instead last year for a 1-year stopgap in Corbin Burns, where they knew they weren't going to be able to keep him, or, whatever. It wasn't realistic that he was going to be more than a rental. I think this team has been terribly mismanaged from this standpoint. You can't be a prospect hugger. You don't have to be AJ Preller where you're dishing out every prospect but it's worked for him. I do think that there's somewhere in between the two. And I would have sat down a year ago and come up with a list. These are the do not touch. And it can't be 8 to 10 deep. It's got to be 4. These are the 4 guys that are not leaving us. The rest of them, maybe it's got to be a good deal and it's got to be on my terms, but I can let them go. And I don't know where Jackson Holiday, which group he fits in. I don't know where Jordan Westberg fits in. I don't know where Kyle Stowers fit in. I'm saying this is 10 months ago.
Yeah.
But you got to pick and choose. Not every prospect is there to grow up and plant seeds in Camden Yards and all grow up together. That's not realistic anymore. They have failed in getting enough pitching help here to make this team a viable World Series contender. And that's a shame.
Yeah. And the reality was they had a average, or some could say below average staff going into the year. Then you lose Grayson. Eflin gets hurt early.
Mm-hmm.
And then you knew that would be a weakness. So what you have to have your strength. It was supposed to be this core of the lineup, and they have underwhelmed. Defense hasn't been good either. The only part that's been pretty solid, and I've talked about it, Felix Bautista looks like Felix Bautista. The back end of the bullpen has been pretty solid, but when you have to use up your bullpen so much because your starters aren't going deep into the game, that's where you run into problems with your bullpen.